Hello and welcome to a new edition of True Audio Files. Today I'm going to talk about whether or not it's worth buying previously unreleased live recordings on record. And part of the reason why I've brought this up is twofold. One is you hear me talk about these things from Record Store Day all the time. I typically try not to buy those previously unreleased recordings on Record Store Day, mainly because most of them are not really good sounding and sometimes are hard to listen to and not worth the time to listen to them. So that's one reason. And the other reason being is one album just came out this week. It's Evenings at the Village Gate with John Coltrane and Eric Dolphy. And McCoy Tyner is also on this. And so, the question then gets begged as, are all of them not worth buying? And, or even more to the point is, should they be pressed onto record and listened to on record? And it's, as always, it's not always a straightforward answer to that. I tend to, again, avoid the live recordings on Record Store Day for two reasons. One is I've rarely found one that sounds good that are released on Record Store Day. There are some exceptions, but for the most part, they haven't sounded that great. But secondly, and more importantly, on Record Store Day, there's generally 25, 30 titles that I want to purchase on Record Store Day, and I have to draw the line somewhere. So I typically draw the line on live recordings, and mainly because I'm more of a studio recording guy than a live recording guy, but also just because of the aforementioned poor sound quality. And then I usually typically avoid picture discs too. So that's why I avoid them on Record Store Day. So on non-Record Store Day releases, I will typically give them a try. But I would say this John Coltrane one, I have not opened the record yet, but I have listened to the high resolution streaming option of it so far, and I do like it, and I think it sounds decent. Certainly not audiophile quality, but it definitely is great in terms of a previously unreleased live recording. I think for those types of recordings, and I think it actually sounds decent. So then it becomes a question of, are the live performances something that you're wanting to own on record because of the performances, or is it also because you want that great sound quality as well? So obviously with most of these live recordings, you're not, these previously unreleased live recordings, I want to stress that you're probably not going to get audiophile level sound quality out of them. There's going to be maybe the rare exception that you might now and then, but overall you're just not going to get that super spectacular audiophile sound quality. So then it becomes, well, are the performances worth buying them on vinyl and owning them? And for example, I think in this particular case with the John Coltrane, Eric Dolphy, McCoy Tyner release, I think, yes, I think the performances are really great. And the sound quality doesn't get in the way, if you know what I mean. And I think that kind of also gets back to the point of whether or not you should buy them or not. Because prime example here's one that I bought on Record Store Day. So on the back of this, they say it's a lo-fi recording, and it definitely is. There's a lot of distortion on it. They tried to clean it up as much as they could, but it's hard to listen to this one. The performances are okay to me. It's not one of those things that really anything jumped out per se for me, but the distraction of the distortion was just way too much. Another one from Record Store Day that I purchased that I was kind of excited about, but also very hesitant about, was the Charlie Parker long lost bird live Afro Cubop recording. My hesitation on this recording was most of the Charlie Parker stuff I've purchased in the past has just not sounded good. The stuff from Record Store Day and other releases when you're talking about live recordings. And, a big part of that's because, he was really prominent in the 40s and maybe into the 50s. And so recording technology, especially for live recordings, just was not great. And this is certainly no exception to that rule. So that one is very hard to listen to because it's really hard to make out the performances because of the sound quality. So, I think it's really going to be one of those things that if you're buying them because you think you're just going to get audiophile level sound quality recordings, I think you should probably avoid them. And part of the other reason why I bring this up is, there was a post on social media where someone had complained about this John Coltrane one and how they felt it sounded boomy and just didn't sound great. And it's like, you got to set your expectations on these. It's one of those things that you don't buy them for the sound quality, you buy them for the performances. And if they're people that you really respect and you love their live performances, like I do for John Coltrane and Eric Dolphy, those two guys are two of my favorite jazz artists. So I would tend to lean towards potentially buying them, and also with the reputation that the John Coltrane releases have had in the past, because they've released a couple of different ones recently. They've been pretty good, a lot better than most, a lot better than Art Blakey, a lot better than most of the Charlie Parker stuff. So, I'll tend to take a chance on those ones. So, but I really like to hear what you have to say. I mean, do you expect better sound, audiophile sound quality out of these previously unreleased live recordings? Or do you just set your expectations on these recordings and know that, you're not going to get top flight audio sound quality on them, but you're listening to it for the live performances instead? So I'd love to hear your take. If you liked what you saw here, please hit that like button. If you haven't done so already, I'd love it if you would subscribe to my channel. And I appreciate you watching today. And I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week.